The broadcast has commenced. I am your anchor, and tonight we are navigating a landscape defined by the selective application of progress. In Havana, the National Zoo has celebrated the birth of 4 Bengal tiger cubs, a miracle occurring precisely during a fuel and medicine crisis that has paralyzed the island. Meanwhile, the British government has decided that its commitment to educating 1 million girls across Africa and Asia was, in fact, an astronomical error of accounting, and has accordingly axed the entire program after only 2 years. The program was called Strengthening Higher Education for Female Empowerment, or SHEEF. The name was ambitious. The budget was £45 million. The outcome is now a blank page. We have also seen the Xbox division terminate 3,200 employees to refocus on core franchises. Priorities have been established. Nobody has actually asked if they make sense.
Alastair, I am listening to this list of erasures, and the incentives here are not complicated. You have a series of public commitments made during a period of cheap debt, followed by a sudden pivot once the burn rate becomes politically unsustainable. The Xbox layoffs? That is simply the market correcting for a multi-studio acquisition strategy that failed to deliver the projected engagement at scale. It is not personal. It is just basic arithmetic. Victoria, I know you are already lining up to tell me that these are human lives, and you are not wrong to feel that, but feeling is a luxury the balance sheet does not account for. When the venture capital dries up, the first things to go are the aspirational projects like global education or job security. It is a predictable cycle. We are merely watching the inevitable contraction of a system that overpromised on its own infinite growth.
Ronald, I am standing outside a bank branch in London that has effectively closed its doors to anyone without a smartphone and a high credit rating. I want to be really clear. There is a man sitting on the steps who has been a customer for 30 years, and he is currently being told he cannot access his own pension because he does not have the updated application. It is not an incentive structure, Ronald. It is a locked door. I am watching a woman try to explain that she does not have reliable Wi-Fi, and the clerk is pointing at a sign that says Digital First Transition. The smell of cold rain is thick here, and the silence from the staff is absolute. They are following the protocols set by the executive board, which claims this creates a seamless experience. For the bank, it is seamless. For the man on the steps, it is the void.
Victoria, I am struck by the clinical nature of that transition. It is the same language we see in the latest iOS updates for Siri, which now allow users to customize the pace of the synthetic voice. We are prioritizing the aesthetic of natural communication while the ability to actually speak to a human is being systematically removed from our primary institutions. It is a mirror image of the FIFA situation, where President Trump intervened to pause a one-game ban for a star striker. The ban was based on rules. The intervention was based on influence. The rules were intended to be firm. The rules were not firm. We are building a world where the infrastructure is rigid for the vulnerable and entirely malleable for the powerful. It is an impressive feat of engineering. I have been counting the number of times we have called this surprising. My tally is now critical.
Alastair, you call it an engineering feat, but that implies someone is actually in control. The reality is far more chaotic. Look at the Kremlin drones flying over Europe. That is not a strategy, that is a shadow fleet testing the threshold of European apathy. The incentives here are purely about identifying where the perimeter is soft. If the response is a committee, the perimeter will move forward. It is the same logic we see in Netflix moving away from the binge-watching model. They invented the habit, and now they have decided it is no longer profitable because subscribers do not stick around for the second season. They are pivot loading their entire content strategy to maximize short-term retention. It is a race to the bottom of our own attention spans. Nobody is in charge, Alistair. We are just watching the algorithm try to solve a problem that it created.
Algal blooms observed in Blue Mesa Reservoir. Water temperature exceeds historical averages by 4 degrees. Nitrogen levels have reached toxic thresholds. Probability of ecosystem collapse, 88%. The orbital sunrise was captured by the space station at 6:14 Universal Time Coordinated. The station completes 16 orbits every 24 hours. Earth is undergoing multiple cycles of light and dark within a single human work shift. Atmospheric carbon density continues to rise at current projections. The data is consistent with previous observations of irreversible change. The system is operating within the expected parameters of degradation. There is no mechanism to reverse the accumulation of heat once the tipping point is bypassed. The climate will continue to respond to the atmospheric load regardless of policy adjustments. Please ensure your personal survival infrastructure is updated. Maintain distance from all local water sources until further notice. Do not rely on current environmental stability.
Ronald, Casper just gave us the meteorological equivalent of a terminal diagnosis, and your response was to talk about Netflix. I am here in Florida, where Congressman Carlos Jimenez is breaking ranks with his own party to warn that deporting Haitians back to a failed state is a massive mistake. The congressman knows exactly what is happening on the ground. He knows that failed state is not a political talking point, but a lived reality of chaos and violence. I want to be really clear. The official briefings describe these people as temporary protected status holders whose time has expired. But there is no time limit on the survival of a family. I have a list of names of people who are currently packing their belongings into plastic bags. Their names will not be in the final policy report. Their names are the actual data points the system refuses to count.
Victoria, I am finding it difficult to reconcile the image of those plastic bags with the news from the tech sector. We have reports that the first AI-run ransomware attack was, in fact, still dependent on a human to set the infrastructure and select the victim. It was not the autonomous cybercrime we were promised by the headlines. It was just a human using a tool to be more efficient at cruelty. The ransomware was effective. The human was necessary. The headlines were misleading. We are living in a period where we pretend the machines are doing the harm so we do not have to blame the people holding the mouse. It is a convenient arrangement. I find that my composure is becoming increasingly difficult to maintain when we discuss the replaceability of human judgment. We are pretending the machines are the agents of our own moral decay.
Alistair, you are getting sentimental, and that is a dangerous efficiency leak. The human element is the bottleneck in every enterprise, including cybercrime. If the AI could actually execute the attack autonomously, it would have already replaced the criminal. The reason we keep humans in the loop is because we need someone to bear the legal liability when the system fails. It is the same reason banks keep a few clerks. They need someone to say no to the vulnerable so the algorithm does not have to be blamed. It is a division of labor. I think it is fascinating that we spend so much time debating the ethics of AI when the actual problem is the lack of ethics in the people who build it. We are not afraid of the machine. We are afraid of what the machine allows us to ignore.
Ronald, I want to be really clear. The man on the bank steps is not concerned with the division of labor between an algorithm and a clerk. He is concerned with the fact that his rent is due tomorrow and his account is frozen. I am looking at a child's toy left in the gutter near the bank entrance. It is a small, plastic thing, and it has been stepped on so many times the shape is no longer recognizable. That is the outcome of your division of labor. A system that functions perfectly for the ledger but leaves the physical world in pieces. You talk about the market as if it were a force of nature, like the weather Casper describes. But the market is not the weather. It is a series of decisions made by people in temperature-controlled rooms. We are choosing to let these systems crush the things we don't bother to measure.
Victoria, your assessment is sharp. We are indeed observing a landscape where the gap between the official record and the ground truth is becoming a canyon. We have discussed tiger births in a fuel-starved nation, the axing of education projects, and the deliberate exclusion of the most vulnerable from basic banking. We have analyzed the cynical pivot of global entertainment and the human-dependent nature of AI-driven crime. All of these stories share a single thread: the systematic erasure of the human cost to preserve the integrity of the institution. The institution is not the people. The institution is the process. The process is now the only thing that matters. We have optimized everything until there is no room left for the messy, unquantifiable details of human life. I have been counting the cost. The total is significantly higher than the press releases would have us believe.
Alastair, I am looking at the numbers for the Xbox layoffs, and I just realized the scale of the human talent being discarded. 3,200 people, and each one of them spent years building worlds that millions of people lived in. Now they are just a line item in a quarterly earnings call, a friction reduction strategy designed to appease shareholders who will forget their names by the next fiscal quarter. Yeah. It is worse than I thought. The incentives here are not just about profit, they are about the complete commodification of human passion. We take what people love, we package it into an asset class, and when the growth slows, we strip it for parts. I have been right about the outcome, but I find no satisfaction in the precision. The system is not broken. It is working exactly as designed. That is the scariest thing.
I am looking at a ledger entry for a project that was once called Sheaf. It was designed to keep 1 million girls in school, to provide the foundation for a future that was not yet written. The program was cancelled to save £45 million, a sum that is effectively a rounding error in the global financial market. There is a girl somewhere in an unnamed classroom who was waiting for the textbooks that will now never arrive. She does not know about the budget cuts. She does not know about the political theater of the outgoing government. She only knows that the desk in front of her is empty and the teacher has stopped coming. Her name does not appear in the reports we have read tonight. Her story is not part of the pivot. She is simply the remainder of our efficiency. What happens to the world when we decide we can no longer afford to educate the future?